The Nanny's Secret, A Millionaire's Debt. Hello everyone, my name is Alex, and I'm your narrator for Uncensored Stories. Get ready to dive into a tale brimming with emotion and unexpected twists that will leave you stunned. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your loved ones. Your support is crucial. I'd also like to announce that our membership section is now live. I want to express my gratitude to all those who are part of our community. If you haven't joined yet, I encourage you to do so. Besides contributing to the channel's growth, you'll enjoy exclusive benefits like extra content, early access to our videos, and a special mention at the beginning of each episode. May God's blessing be with you and all your loved ones. Enjoy this magnificent video and have a wonderful day. With a firm grip, Lucy Reed clutched the crumpled paper as she gazed at the majestic mansion before her. Each morning, the icy breeze reminded her that her thin jacket offered little protection to her 6-month pregnant belly. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the nerves churning in her stomach. This interview was her last chance. The loss of her husband, Matthew, in a tragic construction site accident, had left her alone and vulnerable. With no family to turn to and a new life growing inside her, her savings had rapidly dwindled. "Courage, my little one," Lucy whispered, stroking her belly. "We need this job." She crossed the immaculate garden, acutely aware of the security guard's suspicious gaze. Her worn clothes stood out starkly against the surrounding opulence. Upon reaching the main entrance, she took a deep breath before pressing the doorbell. An elderly woman in a housekeeper's uniform greeted Lucy. In an unfriendly tone, the woman asked for Miss Reed. Lucy confirmed her identity and the reason for her visit with determination in her voice. "Please, follow me. Daniel is waiting for you." Walking through marble corridors, Lucy observed the modern art and sculptures adorning the stately home. Opulence and dominance resonated in every corner. How did I end up here? How could I possibly fit into this world? The housekeeper led her to a spacious office with large windows overlooking the back garden. From behind an elegant dark wood desk, a gentleman meticulously examined some papers. As he looked up, a shiver ran down Lucy's spine. Daniel Thorne perfectly matched his description. Majestic, attractive, with that commanding presence only wealth and influence can bestow. His dark eyes scrutinized her, scanning every part of her body, pausing for an instant on her prominent belly. In a grave voice, he motioned for her to take the seat opposite him, saying, "Miss Reed, please sit." Lucy complied, feeling uncomfortable under his detailed gaze. "I see you're pregnant," he stated directly. "You didn't mention it in your resume." "I'm 6 months along, Mr. Thorne," Lucy affirmed. "While it may seem like a setback, I assure you I can perform the task without any issues," she added, desperation creeping into her voice. For a moment that stretched longer than usual, Daniel looked at her in complete silence before finally revealing, "My son, Gabriel, is 7 years old. Since his mother left us, he's had 5 different nannies. None of them lasted more than 3 months. He's a complicated little boy." Lucy seized the opportunity with determination. "I'm a primary school teacher, Mr. Thorne. I've worked with children of all ages and personalities," he sharply noted. "You're here seeking employment as a child carer, not in a classroom." Lucy swallowed hard. "The school I worked at closed a few months ago, and it's been difficult to find another teaching position during my pregnancy." Daniel stood up and walked to the window, his back to her. "I require a live-in nanny here at the mansion. Constant presence is needed to attend to Gabriel at all times of the day. My work keeps me extremely busy, and I'm always traveling." Lucy's heart began to beat faster. Being here would mean a safe place to live, guaranteed food, and a salary that would allow her to save for her baby's arrival. Without hesitation, She expressed her willingness to move in immediately. Daniel turned to observe her, an indecipherable expression on his face. "What will happen once your baby is born, Miss Reed? Do you believe you'll be capable of caring for 2 children simultaneously?" She was taken aback by the unexpected question. Her apprehension was evident as she voiced it, making her feel vulnerable. "My baby and I are inseparable, Mr. Thorne," she stated with resolve. "If that presents an inconvenience, then I am not the right person for this job." Unexpectedly, a soft smile played on Daniel's face. "I admire your sincerity. Most interviewees say what they think I want to hear." He returned to his desk and pressed a button on the intercom. "Isabella, please bring Gabriel to the office." Minutes later, the door opened, and a small boy with dark hair and eyes identical to his father's appeared. He wore a private school uniform and held a book under his arm. At the doorway, he paused to observe Lucy with suspicion in his eyes. "Gabriel, this is Miss Reed. She might become your new carer." The boy remained silent, simply looking at her with eyes that seemed wiser than his years. Lucy greeted Gabriel with a wide smile. "What book are you holding?" After a quick glance at his father, Gabriel softly mumbled the title, The Little Prince. "Oh, that's one of my favorites," Lucy exclaimed. "You've reached the part with the fox, haven't you?" For the first time, a spark of curiosity lit up the boy's gaze. "He's only just reached the 3rd chapter," Daniel interjected. "You still have much to explore. It's a charming story." Daniel watched the exchange, and Lucy perceived a shift in his expression as he saw Gabriel engaging with her. "Gabriel, why don't you show Miss Reed your room? That way you can continue discussing books." The boy nodded and looked at Lucy. "Come on," he said, moving towards the exit. Before following, Lucy cast an inquisitive glance at Daniel. "You've passed the first test," he said. "Few people manage to strike up a conversation with Gabriel on their first meeting. When you return, we'll discuss the details." As she followed Gabriel through the stately home's vast corridors, Lucy struggled to process the situation. It seemed she had landed the job, though Daniel hadn't yet directly confirmed it. Gabriel's room was huge and adorned with astronomical objects, a telescope by the window, constellation drawings on the ceiling, and shelves brimming with books about the universe. Lucy showed genuine interest, asking, "Do you enjoy astronomy?" Gabriel nodded and revealed his desire to become an astronaut someday, hoping to see the stars up close. "That's a beautiful dream," Lucy replied, recalling her own childhood aspirations. Gabriel settled onto his bed, watching her cautiously. He pointed at her belly and asked if she was really going to be a mum. Lucy smiled and nodded, confirming it would be in about 3 months. The boy continued to ask if she would live there. His previous nannies hadn't stayed long. His tone caused a pang in Lucy's chest. She wondered how many times the child had witnessed people coming and going from his life. "If your father decides to hire me," she said honestly, "I'd love to stay here for a very long time." As Lucy looked at Gabriel, she felt him scrutinizing her. Suddenly, in a barely audible tone, he mentioned that his father believed his mother left because of his complicated behavior. Lucy felt something shatter inside her. How could anyone inflict such pain on a child? "Gabriel, listen," Lucy said, kneeling before him, despite the discomfort of her pregnancy. "Sometimes, adults make choices that don't consider children. If your mother left, rest assured it wasn't because of you. You must never believe it was your fault." Tears didn't well in the boy's eyes, despite their dampness. Resignedly, he said, "You'll leave too when your baby is born." Lucy adamantly refused, surprised by her own determination as she made the promise. "I'll stay here to look after both of you." With skepticism in his gaze, Gabriel was about to reply when Daniel suddenly appeared at the room's entrance. "Gabriel, it's time for your piano lesson," he announced. Isabella is waiting for you downstairs." Before leaving, the boy grabbed his book and cast a final glance at Lucy. "See you later, Miss Reed." After Gabriel walked down the corridor, Daniel turned to her and offered her the position directly, without preamble, saying it was hers if she still wanted it. "You can move in tomorrow. Isabella will show you around and detail your duties. Welcome." Do you think Lucy should accept the job, knowing about Gabriel's past trauma and Daniel's distant nature? What's the biggest risk you've ever taken when you were desperate? Share your thoughts below. Hello there. I hope you're enjoying this video. I'm a little curious to know where you're watching this video from and what time it is for you. Right now, thank you for enjoying this story. Lucy's relief was so intense, it almost made her dizzy. "Thank you, Mr. Thorne. You won't regret your decision." Daniel scrutinized her before replying. "I hope not, Miss Reed, for Gabriel's sake." The next day, Lucy arrived at the Thorne mansion with just a few personal belongings. Isabella, the housekeeper, showed her to her quarters. Within the imposing mansion, a small studio had been set up, consisting of a bedroom, a private bathroom, and a small sitting area. Isabella calmly stated that Mr. Thorne had requested an extra room be prepared for her baby's arrival. At 7 a.m., Gabriel has breakfast and gets ready for school at 8. He returns home at 3 p.m., participates in extracurricular activities until 5, and then dedicates time to his homework before dinner at 7. Lucy nodded, trying to remember all the details. "What about Mr. Thorne? What time does he usually come home?" Isabella gave her a look filled with what seemed to be compassion. "The master rarely gets home before 9 p.m., and when he does, he usually goes straight to his study for work. Saturdays and Sundays vary. Sometimes he stays home, other times he travels." Lucy sadly reflected that Gabriel was used to his father's absence. "Is there any other important information I should know?" Isabella replied quietly. "Although he may seem reserved and distant, he actually loves his son deeply. Since Mrs. Thorne left, things have been difficult for both of them." Lucy nodded, grateful for the information. She now knew Gabriel's mother's name was Isabella. She thanked the housekeeper. "I'll do my best to support Gabriel." As the days passed, Lucy established a routine with Gabriel. At first, the boy seemed distant, as if waiting for her to pack her things and leave. However, over time, he began to open up. She realized that Gabriel was highly intelligent, displaying an insatiable curiosity about everything around him. However, she also noticed his isolation. He didn't mention his classmates, and spent most of his free time reading or looking through his telescope. At bedtime, Gabriel surprised Lucy with an unexpected question. He asked her what she would name her baby. With a smile, Lucy gently stroked her ever-growing belly and replied that she hadn't decided on a name yet. "I'm considering different names. Would you like me to help you decide?" he inquired timidly. "Of course," she replied, delighted. "That would be wonderful." With one of those rare smiles that lit up his entire face, Gabriel suggested the name Celeste if it was a girl. If it's a boy, we could consider Orion, after the constellation. Lucy feigned surprise. "What lovely names," she commented. "I'll add them to my list." As Gabriel drifted off to sleep, Lucy thought about how quickly that little boy had won her affection. However, there was someone else in the house who remained an enigma to her: Daniel Thorne. During the 3 weeks she had spent living there, she had barely interacted with the master of the house. As Isabella had predicted, he arrived late and left early. Occasionally, they would meet at breakfast, where they exchanged a few brief words about Gabriel without delving into other topics. However, one evening, while reviewing some notebooks in the kitchen after putting Gabriel to bed, Daniel appeared. Lucy was surprised to see him. It was almost 11 at night, a time when he was usually engrossed in his study. He greeted Miss Reed and walked to the fridge to get a glass of water. She felt intimidated by Mr. Thorne's imposing presence. "Do you require any assistance?" With a deep gaze, Daniel scrutinized her, as if he could read her thoughts. According to Isabella, Gabriel is making academic progress at school. The teachers are amazed by the transformation. Lucy smiled proudly. Gabriel is a very capable child. He just needed some support and self-belief. Daniel nodded, leaning against the kitchen counter. "In just 3 weeks, you've achieved what 5 nannies couldn't in over a year." Lucy, surprised by her own honesty, explained that she didn't see Gabriel as a responsibility, but as a child who needed attention and understanding. Daniel stared at her intently. "Are you implying that I haven't been paying attention to my own son, Miss Reed?" Lucy stiffened, realizing she had crossed a line. "Oh, no. My apologies, I didn't mean to." Daniel interrupted with a calmer voice than expected, stating that she didn't need to apologize for being honest. He conceded that she was right, admitting that he hadn't been supporting Gabriel as he should have been. An awkward silence settled between them. Lucy was speechless. She had never seen this side of Daniel Thorne. "I'd like to ask you a personal question," he finally inquired. "Of course. Is the father of your child here?" The question caught her off guard. Lucy looked down at her abdomen. 5 months ago, my husband Matthew passed away in a tragic accident," she said sadly. "He never imagined he'd become a father." Daniel paused for a brief moment. He seemed to carry the weight of his words as he said, "I'm so very sorry. It was wrong of me to ask." "Don't worry, it's part of my past." Daniel looked at her intently for a long moment, as if he had something more to say. But in the end, he nodded. "Good night, Miss Reed." "Good night, Mr. Thorne." After that meeting, something shifted in their relationship. Daniel began to come home earlier, occasionally sharing dinner with Gabriel and Lucy. The boy seemed to thrive with his father's renewed interest, although Lucy sensed a certain reserve in Daniel, as if he worried that this happiness would be fleeting. While helping Gabriel with his homework, the boy asked a surprising question. "Do you think Dad likes having you here?" Lucy blinked in surprise and replied, "Yes, probably. If he didn't, he would have fired me, wouldn't he?" Gabriel nodded thoughtfully. "I've never seen him so happy. He seems to enjoy talking to you." A sudden warmth flooded Lucy's cheeks. "We're glad you're doing well at school," she replied, changing the subject. "Let's finish solving these maths problems." However, Gabriel's words lingered in her mind. She might be having a positive impact on both the child and his father. As her pregnancy progressed, Lucy felt heavier and more tired. Isabella, who had become friendlier over time, kept advising her to take more breaks, telling her it wasn't good to be on her feet so much. "The baby will be here before you know it." While reading a story to Gabriel, she suddenly experienced an intense pain in her stomach. She tried to ignore it, but the pain's intensity made her groan. Gabriel, visibly worried, asked, "Are you all right?" She replied, "Yes, just—" A new pain stopped her. "Could you call your dad or Isabella?" Gabriel ran out of the room. Moments later, Daniel appeared, looking concerned. Kneeling beside her, he asked, "What's wrong?" "I'm not sure," Lucy replied, struggling to breathe. "It's too early for the baby to come, but something isn't right." Daniel didn't hesitate to lift her into his arms, impressing her with his strength. "Isabella, stay with Gabriel. I'll take Lucy to the hospital." Inside the car, Lucy struggled to control her fear. As Daniel drove at high speed, it was imperative not to lose this little one. Matthew's baby was all she had left, her only possession in the world. Daniel, with confidence in his voice, reassured her that everything would be all right, as if he could read her thoughts. "You can trust that I'll look after you and your little one." Lucy looked at him in surprise, hearing the strength in his tone. In that instant, she saw something in his gaze she had never perceived before: vulnerability in the face of adversity. This influential man, seemingly in control of all situations, was filled with fear for her. At the hospital, doctors diagnosed Lucy with premature contractions. After receiving treatment, they managed to control the contractions. However, they recommended complete bed rest for a minimum of 2 weeks. As the doctor left the room, Lucy expressed her concern about not being able to work. Daniel, who had accompanied her throughout the ordeal, shook his head as she said Gabriel needed her. "Now your primary responsibility is to look after yourself and your little one. Gabriel will understand." Despite this, she insisted on the agreement they had made. He firmly intervened to point out that their agreement covered her health and comfort. "Rest now. We'll talk tomorrow." After Daniel left, Lucy lay still in the hospital room, reflecting on what had happened. Daniel Thorne was showing an unfamiliar side, compassionate, caring, and even vulnerable. Something inside her was changing too. A relationship that was initially purely professional was evolving into something more significant, causing her mixed emotions of fear and attraction. After Matthew's passing, Lucy felt her heart beginning to beat again for someone else. However, fate held more surprises, and soon the mystery connecting Daniel's and Lucy's lives would be revealed, irrevocably altering their destinies. What do you think is the hidden connection between Daniel and Lucy that will soon be revealed? How do you think this revelation will impact their fragile new bond? Share your predictions in the comments below. When Lucy opened her eyes in her room at the imposing Thorne mansion, the first rays of sunlight filtered through the curtains. After 3 weeks in the hospital, both she and her baby were safe, thanks to the meticulous care they had received. Daniel had insisted on hiring an expert nurse to look after her during her recovery, and although she initially resisted, Lucy had to admit it was the right decision. However, what surprised her most was the change in Daniel's routine. Isabella, the housekeeper, considered it unprecedented that he started working from home several days a week. "I've never seen the master dedicate extra time outside of his work hours," the cleaner revealed with surprise and acceptance. As for Gabriel, he had become her faithful companion. After school, he would rush to her room to tell her about his day, read her his favorite books, or simply stay by her side while she did her tasks. Sometimes, when he thought Lucy was asleep, he would whisper to the baby, sharing secrets and assuring it they would be inseparable companions. That morning, Lucy was slowly trying to get up when she felt an energetic movement in her abdomen that brought a smile to her face. She placed a hand on her swollen belly, caressing it with affection. "Good morning to you too, little one," she whispered. A soft knock on the door broke the stillness. "Come in," she replied, expecting the nurse with her first meal of the day. Unexpectedly, Daniel appeared carrying a tray. Lucy was surprised to see him dressed informally, something unusual in her experience. Instead of his usual elegant suits, he wore jeans and a blue shirt that accentuated his deep eyes, making him look more youthful and approachable. With a shy smile, he greeted her. "Good morning. Since Isabella is busy managing suppliers, I offered to prepare your breakfast." Lucy tried to hide her astonishment. "Thank you, but you didn't have to bother." Daniel placed the tray on the bedside table and sat on the nearby chair. "No problem. Besides, I wanted to talk to you." Lucy stiffened, sensing a certain nuance in his voice. Had he decided that, because of her condition, she was no longer fit to care for Gabriel? Would he ask her to leave once the baby arrived? She nervously asked if something was wrong with Gabriel. Daniel shook his head. "Thanks to you, Gabriel is thriving. In fact, it's about him that I wanted to speak to you." As he smoothed his hair back with his hand, Lucy noted it was a sign of nervousness he often displayed. He continued, mentioning that Gabriel's birthday was on Sunday. At 8 years old, he wanted to celebrate the occasion. Lucy expressed her relief, commenting on how wonderful that was. Could we plan a modest celebration here at the house and invite his school friends? Daniel's expression darkened slightly. That's the issue. Gabriel doesn't have close friends at school. Since Isabella's passing, he's become very withdrawn. According to child psychologists, this is due to his way of protecting himself from being left behind. A feeling of melancholy washed over Lucy. Although Gabriel had made considerable progress over the past months, emotional wounds still lingered that needed to be healed. So, what's your idea? Daniel, with a slight smile, mentioned that Gabriel wanted something simple. Just the three of us. He says he now considers us his family. The words hit Lucy like a wave. Family unit. For Gabriel, was she part of his family unit? She felt a lump in her throat. Did he really say that? Yes, he did. We'll make sure it's a memorable day for him. Daniel looked at her intently, as if searching her gaze for something. Lucy, there's something else I need to tell you. There's something I must reveal. She was surprised to be called by her first name so informally. During the month she had worked at the mansion, Daniel had always addressed her as Miss Reed, which created a professional barrier that, despite sometimes frustrating her, also provided her with comfort. I'm listening, she replied, trying not to pay attention to her rapidly beating heart. Daniel stood up and walked to the window, his back to her. Her silhouette was outlined against the sunlit morning curtain. When I hired you, he began, I didn't just consider your teaching abilities. It was because I recognized you. Lucy frowned in confusion. You recognized me? I don't recall us ever meeting before. Daniel turned to face her. Although we hadn't met in person, I had the pleasure of knowing your husband, Matthew. When the accident occurred, he was working on one of the construction sites I oversaw. Lucy felt as if the world had stopped. Suddenly, everything made sense. Why had Daniel hired her despite her pregnancy? Why his immense generosity? Why his devoted care during her illness? You owned the construction company, she whispered with difficulty, feeling her breath catch. Daniel nodded seriously. The accident shouldn't have happened. All safety procedures were in place. However, there was an oversight that was covered up by my superiors until it was too late. Lucy felt intense dizziness. Was this whole situation, the job, Daniel's kindness, merely about guilt? Guilt? She asked in a choked voice why he hadn't told her this from the beginning. He honestly explained that he was afraid of being rejected and that she wouldn't want anything to do with him. I wanted to help you, Lucy. I believed it was a debt owed to you and your husband. Lucy chose to close her eyes to absorb all the new information. When she opened them again, her eyes showed great resolve. She expressed her desire to know precisely what had happened that day. Absolutely everything must be revealed. No more hiding. Daniel agreed to her request, considering it a fair one. He sat down again, but this time he sat closer to her. In the heart of the city, the construction company was erecting an office building. For different stages of the project, we had selected various subcontracting companies. One of the individuals in charge of the electrical system was creating fraudulent safety certificates. He paused briefly, as if the words were a heavy burden. The team in charge should have discovered it, but they didn't. Even worse, they ignored it to meet deadlines. When Matthew discovered a problem with the electrical installation, he tried to report it, but the supervisor in charge assured him it would be taken care of later. However, he never did. Lucy remembered the fragmented information she had been given about the incident. The fault caused a short circuit, she murmured. That's right. A localized fire broke out, causing a section of the building to collapse. Matthew was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Lucy felt tears stream down her cheeks. For all these months, She had tried not to dwell on how Matthew died, focusing on staying strong and moving forward for her child's sake. However, now the raw reality hit her with full force. Between sobs, she questioned why he hadn't contacted her sooner. Why wait until I was desperate and looking for a job? Daniel cast his eyes downwards. I tried. I sent delegates to your home. However, you never received anyone. I left messages that never got a response. I even tried to offer you compensation through my legal representatives, but you refused. Lucy barely retained a faint memory of those efforts. After Matthew died, she experienced intense grief for the first few months. She didn't answer the doorbell. She discarded mail unopened and avoided any interaction with the outside world. It was only after learning she was pregnant that she began to respond and strive to overcome her difficult situation. Daniel continued speaking, mentioning that when he saw her resume for the nanny position, he interpreted it as an opening, a chance to directly offer assistance without intermediaries. Since he knew she wouldn't accept free help, he proposed a genuine job opportunity, one that perfectly matched her skills. Lucy wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Does Gabriel know about this? Daniel replied immediately with a firm, No. You are the light that has come into our home, and you've shown him that not everyone leaves. You are essential in his life. A long silence settled between them. Lucy looked out the window, trying to organize her thoughts and feelings. She felt pain from the betrayal, yet she understood the reasons behind Daniel's actions. Now, what do you expect from me? She finally questioned. To forgive you? Do you want to be absolved of responsibility? Daniel shook his head. Lucy, I have no expectations. I thought it was only fair for you to know the truth before choosing whether you want to stay here. I offer you the job for as long as you prefer, regardless of your decision. If you choose to leave, I will ensure that you and your child have a stable future. It's the least I can do. Lucy looked at him intently. Although she was hurting, she couldn't deny that during this time she had developed feelings for Daniel, emotions that transcended gratitude or professional respect. And now, with this revelation, the situation became even more complex. Finally, she said, I need some space to think. Daniel stood up, showing consideration for her state. Of course, take all the time you need. As he headed for the exit, Lucy stopped him. Daniel turned, hopeful. We're still planning to celebrate Gabriel's birthday, aren't we? I won't let this spoil it for the little one. A subtle, relieved smile appeared on Daniel's lips. Thank you, Lucy. Your generosity is more than I deserve. After Daniel left, Lucy remained contemplating the breakfast tray, which was now cold and untouched. A whirlwind of conflicting emotions flooded her mind. She felt a mix of anger and sadness at discovering that Daniel had kept such a significant secret from her. On the other hand, she understood the reasons behind his actions and valued his sincerity, despite its belated arrival. Then Gabriel appeared, the little boy she had grown to love as if he were her own family. She couldn't leave him, not now, when he was finally beginning to trust, to open up. However, how could she remain in this house, sharing a roof with the man who had indirectly played a role in Matthew's tragedy? Her thoughts were interrupted by a gentle knock on the door. Lucy, Gabriel's voice. Can I come in? Lucy quickly wiped away her remaining tears. Yes, my love, you can come in. As he entered, Gabriel carried a piece of paper. Noticing Lucy's red eyes, he frowned in concern. Are you sad? He asked, approaching the bed. Just a little bit, she replied honestly. But it'll pass soon. Gabriel seemed to understand perfectly. When I'm sad, you make me feel better. He offered her the paper. It was a colorful drawing with 3 figures, a tall man, a woman with a prominent belly, and a tiny child in the middle, holding hands. At the top, In large, uneven letters was the inscription, "My family." A feeling of overwhelming emotion surged in Lucy's chest. How could she leave now? How could she abandon what she shared with Gabriel, her baby, and herself? She expressed her admiration for the beauty of the drawing as she wrapped her arms around the boy, giving him a heartfelt kiss. With a satisfied smile, Gabriel expressed his joy. "Dad told me we're having a birthday party next Sunday, just the three of us." Lucy nodded in agreement. "It'll be a truly special day. And then, when the baby is born, we'll be a family of 4, Gabriel exclaimed, excited. "A whole family!" Lucy didn't have the heart to correct him. Instead, she gently stroked his hair. "Can I help you plan your celebration? Could we make a list of the dishes you want and the games we want to play?" Gabriel's excitement soared, completely erasing the sadness he had perceived in Lucy's eyes moments before. As the little boy enthusiastically chatted about cakes and presents, Lucy reflected on her situation. Perhaps, she thought, time would heal the scars. Perhaps in the future, she could find a way to forgive Daniel, even if it wasn't possible right now. Meanwhile, she had Gabriel, who needed her love and unwavering support in this crucial moment. What choice do you think Lucy will make regarding her future with Daniel and Gabriel? Do you believe she can truly forgive Daniel for his indirect role in Matthew's death? Share your thoughts below. Leading up to Gabriel's birthday celebration, Lucy and Daniel maintained a polite but reserved relationship. He respected her need for privacy, only inquiring about her well-being and the babies. She made every effort to maintain a normal demeanor with Gabriel, preventing their personal issues from affecting the little boy. As Sunday dawned, Lucy rose early to organize some surprises for the birthday boy. With Isabella's help, she decorated the living room with balloons and streamers. She also oversaw the preparation of Gabriel's favorite dessert, a delicious chocolate cake with strawberries. Daniel participated in the arrangements, bringing brightly wrapped gifts and helping with the decorations. While hanging a garland, their hands accidentally brushed. A jolt of electricity ran through Lucy, and seeing Daniel's gaze, she instinctively knew he had felt it too. "Lucy, I need to talk to you," he said. At that moment, she gently stopped him. "Today is Gabriel's birthday." Daniel nodded, showing understanding. "You're right, however. We will need to talk at some point." "After the celebration," Lucy assured him. "We'll do that." When Gabriel came down for breakfast, he was thrilled to see the decorations. His face lit up with a genuine joy that made all the previous effort worthwhile. He ran quickly to Lucy and wrapped her in a tight hug. He exclaimed it was the most incredible party on the planet. Daniel watched the scene with a mixture of joy and melancholy. He approached them, and suddenly, he wrapped both of them in a warm embrace. For an instant, they perfectly embodied Gabriel's perception of them, a family unit. The celebration turned out to be cozy, yet brimming with joy and entertainment. Lucy arranged a scavenger hunt in the large house, with riddles Gabriel had to solve using his astronomy knowledge. Daniel actively participated, chasing his son from room to room, revealing a playful side Lucy hadn't known until then. When it was time to cut the cake, Gabriel suggested that all three of them blow out the candles together. He argued that, being part of the same family, it was natural to do things together, as families do. Daniel looked at Lucy for approval. With a nod of agreement, she leaned her head slightly next to the other two, drawing closer to the sparkling cake. Lucy suggested that Gabriel make a wish. The little boy squeezed his eyelids shut tightly for an instant, then blew out the candles firmly. There were cheers and shouts of joy from everyone, including Isabella, who had decided to stay and take photos. After dessert, it was time to open the gifts. Gabriel received books about the universe, a set to build a scale model of the solar system, and new clothes. However, the gift that touched him most was the final one, a tiny box Daniel gave him with a serious expression. "This gift is very significant, my son. I've kept it for a long time, waiting for the right moment to give it to you." Carefully, Gabriel opened the box. Inside was an antique pocket watch with silver embellishments and a delicate chain. Daniel explained that the piece first belonged to his grandfather and then passed to his father. "It's yours now." With respect, Gabriel took the watch and opened it, finding a small picture inside the lid. A young Daniel alongside an older gentleman, both smiling. Gabriel, surprised, inquired, "Is this Granddad?" To which Daniel responded affirmatively. "Granddad would have been very proud of you, just as I am." With tears of joy, the boy ran to his father and hugged him tightly. Moved, Lucy watched the scene intently. In that instant, Matthew's familiar words came to mind. True love knows no restrictions, no boundaries. It is simply eternal and enduring. Perhaps, she reflected, that was the feeling she now had for Daniel and Gabriel, a love that had been born in completely unexpected circumstances, but that was just as genuine as the one she had felt for Matthew. Different, yet equally strong. As Lucy reflects on her feelings, what do you think this shared moment of family joy means for her future with Daniel? What's the most unexpected way you've seen a fractured family find happiness again? Share your thoughts below. As the party concluded, Gabriel retired to bed, exhausted but content, leaving Lucy and Daniel alone in the living room, clearing up the remnants of the celebration. "It was a perfect day," Daniel said, as he carefully put away Gabriel's gifts from the table. Lucy thanked him with a subtle smile for making it all possible. Gabriel deserved that. Daniel agreed that the boy was wonderful and mentioned that a significant part of his recent happiness was due to her. A moment of silence passed, filled with unexpressed words. Daniel finally remembered that they had agreed to talk after the event. Lucy nodded and sat on one of the sofas. Daniel took a seat opposite her, ensuring he maintained a proper distance between them. "I've been thinking a lot lately about Matthew," Lucy began. "About you, about Gabriel, and about everything." Daniel waited, allowing her to collect her thoughts. "At first, I was very angry with you," she continued. "I felt that you had manipulated me, that this was all just a way to ease your guilt." He nodded calmly. "However, later I realized something." Looking into his eyes, Lucy told him that she couldn't hold him responsible for what happened to Matthew. "The employees made a careless mistake, but you didn't order them to disregard safety procedures. You weren't aware of what was happening." Daniel's words seemed to have taken him by surprise. He sadly stated that, despite everything, it was his duty, as it was his business, his rules, and ultimately, his responsibility. Lucy told Daniel that life isn't simple, and that remaining bound by guilt prevents us from moving forward. "You can trust me on this. I learned that lesson the hard way after Matthew's passing." She placed her hands on her belly, feeling her little one move. "This child showed me that life goes on, that it's important to keep moving forward. Thanks to Gabriel, I've discovered that you can love again, create new connections, and establish a different kind of family." Daniel watched her with a mixture of hope and caution. "Lucy, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I can't promise to forgive you in the near future, but I'm ready to try, gradually, day by day. For Gabriel's sake, for my little one, and perhaps for our own well-being too." Moving cautiously closer, Daniel showed a certain fear that she might get scared and pull away. Lucy, with determination, agreed to give him a chance, though she demanded absolute honesty from that moment forward. Daniel assured her, holding her hands firmly, that there would be no more hiding or half-truths. Absolute transparency. Lucy nodded, confirming the unspoken pact between them. Although it wasn't an immediate happy ending, it marked the beginning of something promising, a path towards recovery, forgiveness, and perhaps, in the future, experiencing love in its entirety. What do you think is the last twist fate has in store for Lucy and Daniel? What's the most incredible coincidence you've ever experienced that changed everything? Share your stories below. Later that night, Lucy was getting ready for bed when she felt a particularly intense kick from her little one. As she stroked her belly, she whispered calming words. "Everything will be all right. We're finding our way." After a long time, she finally trusted that. The future, once seen as bleak and solitary, now glowed with unexpected possibilities. With Daniel and Gabriel by her side, she would be ready to face any challenge with renewed hope. They were unaware that fate held one last twist, a revelation that would challenge the delicate stability they had managed to achieve. Sometimes, secrets find a special way to reveal themselves, even those we thought buried forever. A month after Gabriel's birthday celebration, Lucy woke up feeling an intense discomfort that she immediately recognized. The baby was coming, 3 weeks earlier than expected. "Daniel!" she called, trying to remain calm even as the contractions grew stronger. In an instant, Daniel appeared at the doorway, still in his pajamas. "It's time," she said, her breath hitched. Daniel quickly helped her up. Over the past few weeks, their bond had slowly progressed. Although not perfect, they were building a genuine relationship founded on sincerity and mutual respect. He decided to call Isabella to look after Gabriel, quickly dialing on his mobile while supporting Lucy with his other arm. After ensuring everything was all right, Daniel led her to the car. As they drove to the hospital, he comforted her, telling her everything would be fine, assuring her, "I'm by your side." On the way, Lucy mentally reviewed the time she had spent since arriving at the Thorne residence, the initial fear, the bond with Gabriel, the discovery about Matthew, and finally, this peculiar and beautiful new possibility that life offered her. At the hospital, everything happened quickly and frantically. Contractions grew stronger, doctors assisted her, and Daniel stayed by her side, holding her hand firmly. "Please, don't leave," she pleaded amidst a particularly intense contraction. "Never," he assured her, kissing her sweaty forehead. After a long period of labor, a newborn's cry resonated in the room. The doctor announced it was a girl as he placed the tiny infant in Lucy's arms. With tears of joy in her eyes, Lucy looked at her little one. She was perfect, with a dark mane of hair and a rosy complexion. "Hello, Celeste," she murmured, recalling the name Gabriel had suggested months ago. Daniel watched the scene cautiously, not daring to get too close, as if fearing to disturb that special moment between mother and daughter. Lucy called him softly, inviting him to meet her. As Daniel approached, Lucy noticed something unusual on his face. It wasn't just emotion or surprise, but a perplexing realization. She inquired about what was happening. Daniel's gaze remained fixed on the baby, focusing especially on a peculiar crescent-shaped mark on her right wrist. He whispered, "That mark. Gabriel's mother, Isabella, had an identical twin." Lucy frowned and replied that it was just a coincidence. Despite a gut feeling, Daniel shook his head, moving from disbelief to comprehension. "I must ask you something, Lucy, and it's crucial that you answer me with absolute frankness. Were you familiar with Isabella before Matthew's accident?" The question took her by surprise. "Not in person," she replied cautiously. "However, Matthew occasionally spoke of her, They both worked at the same construction company. I believe she worked as an engineer. Daniel briefly closed his eyes. In a shaky voice, he mentioned that Isabella left the company immediately after Matthew's accident. She said she couldn't stay there after what happened, expressing the urgency to distance herself from her surroundings. Lucy began to understand the idea Daniel was proposing. Daniel quickly interrupted her when she tried to ask about Isabella and Matthew. However, this physical characteristic is too unique to be a coincidence. A profound silence enveloped them as the implications became clear. If Daniel's suggestion was true, it would mean that Celeste and Gabriel had Matthew as their common father. "We need a DNA test," Lucy announced, looking at her resting daughter. Daniel nodded and sat beside the bed. "No matter how it all turns out, my love for you, Lucy, will remain the same." 2 weeks later, Lucy gently rocked Celeste in the rocking chair in her room. As the baby rested peacefully, she had no idea of the revolution of feelings her arrival had caused. Daniel's arrival was announced by a soft knock on the door. With a serious expression on his face, he seemed to have news. In a low voice, he announced, "We have the results." Carefully not to disturb the baby's sleep, Lucy nodded in acceptance, bracing herself for what was to come. Daniel affirmed that Gabriel was Matthew's biological son. His tone reflected a mix of conflicting emotions. Isabella should have kept that secret from both of them. Although she had suspected it, the news deeply impacted Lucy. Gabriel, whom she had come to love as if he were her own son, turned out to be her daughter's half-brother. Faced with this revelation, she wondered what path to take as her reality crumbled once more. Daniel leaned towards her, tenderly holding her hands. He expressed that he felt fate had laid out a singular path for both of them. Lucy, a path that had united them through difficult and sad moments, but also through love. With eyes brimming with tears, Lucy stared at him intently. "Do you think we should tell Gabriel?" she inquired. Daniel replied yes, but that it would be better to wait until he was older and could understand. For now, it's enough for him to know that we are his family and that we love him unconditionally. He moved closer to her, his eyes showing firm resolve. "Lucy, I know our beginning was difficult. We met during hard times, and we are still recovering. But the time spent with you and Gabriel has been the happiest period I have experienced. With Celeste by my side, I believe we can build something wonderful together." He took a moment to breathe deeply before expressing his feelings. "Lucy, I love you very much, and I want to build a family with you, to raise these children together and be the family we both long for." As she held little Celeste, Lucy thought of Gabriel, who was at school at that moment, perhaps drawing another picture of his family. In that instant, she realized that true love can appear in completely unexpected situations, and that sometimes destiny unites lives in unimaginable ways. Finally, she replied, "Daniel, I love you too. And yes, I want us to build our home together." 1 year later, the garden of the Thorne residence glowed with flowers and lights in honor of a special event. Daniel waited anxiously under a canopy of white roses, accompanied by Gabriel, both looking sophisticated in their suits. At the end of the aisle, as Lucy appeared with Celeste in her arms, a gasp spread among the few attendees. Lucy looked splendid in a modest white dress, her hair adorned with tiny flowers. Gabriel ran towards her, unable to control his emotion. "Mummy!" He praised her beauty, hugging her tightly with determination. A smile appeared on Lucy's face as she heard Gabriel call her Mummy so spontaneously. She was the mother he had always longed for, and Celeste was the little sister who made his happiness complete. The celebration turned out to be a moving and very personal moment. Daniel and Lucy promised to give each other a new chance, expressing their love born from difficult moments and the strong family they built despite adversity. As they were pronounced husband and wife by the officiant, Daniel lifted Gabriel into his arms at the same time he kissed Lucy, who held Celeste in her arms. The four embraced in a gesture that represented their incredible journey. That night, when the children were resting, Daniel and Lucy enjoyed the view of the stars from their bedroom balcony. Lucy tenderly asked if he thought Matthew would agree with the idea of caring for his children together. Daniel wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. He honestly expressed that he would feel at peace if he knew his children were loved, and that she was happy. Lucy nodded, experiencing a profound calm within her being. After a long and difficult journey, marked by suffering and mysteries, they had finally found mutual refuge in love, which had overcome suffering, remorse, and the passage of time. As the starlight enveloped them, Lucy reflected on how, sometimes, the most beautiful outcomes arise from the most improbable beginnings. True love has no boundaries, and even in the darkest moments, there is always an opportunity to find light. And so concludes this amazing story. If you found the content interesting, we encourage you to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share the video with your friends and family. Your support is the boost we need to continue creating this material, especially for you. I want to express my gratitude for taking the time to watch this video. To continue enjoying our narratives, I encourage you to click on the video currently displayed on your screen. May your life and your family's life be filled with divine blessings. Alex awaits you in the next episode of Uncensored Stories. See you soon.